Coming up on Network Africa, the state of emergency declared in Seychelles after a huge explosion in Mahé Island. Gabon coup leader meets with Cameroon's President Paul Biya in Yaoundé, the capital. Plus, former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Bai Koroma, invited for questioning in relation to the failed coup plot in the country. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in the Seychelles, where a state of emergency has been declared after a massive explosion at the industrial zone on the main island Mahé, as well as flooding. Well, Seychelles President Wavel Ramakalan says all citizens except essential workers should stay at home. Well, the blast happened at a construction and quarrying company where explosives were being stored, leaving a trail of devastation in the industrial zone of Providence. A number of people have also been injured. The international airport, which was 4 kilometers away, was also damaged. However, authorities say the airport is still operational and ferry services between islands are operating for visitors. Kenya's Labour Ministry says it is sending 1,500 farm workers to Israel. The casual workers will be deployed on 3-year renewable contracts with a guaranteed net income of $1,500. The announcement comes nearly 2 weeks after Malawi sent 221 young people to work on Israeli farms, triggering a backlash against the government. Well, Israel appears to have turned to Africa to fill a severe labor gap on its farms after a massive exit of foreign workers on account of the war. More than 10,000 migrant farm workers, mostly Thailand nationals, have left Israel since the start of the conflict with Hamas in early October. Israel has also barred Palestinian workers who made up nearly 20% of the agricultural labor force prior to the war. Let's speak now to Cyrus Ombati, Kenyan journalist in Nairobi, for more on this story. Hello, Cyrus. Thank you for speaking to us. Help us understand how this is expected to work out. You know, the Labour Ministry wanting to send 1,500 Kenyan farmers to Israeli farms.
Thank you for having me on the show. It just comes as a good relief to men who may want to join the whole workforce in Israel, as much as there's insecurity in the area. But then most of Kenyans have welcomed the move, and they're saying they're ready to join the whole program and travel to Israel when it's possible to travel there.
Well, so what is the guarantee of the safety of these people going to Israel? We know just nearly 2 weeks ago, Malawi sent 221 young people, much to the disappointment and a backlash against the government. So how is the Kenyan government what is the guarantee the Kenyan government is giving to these people that are going? I mean, Israel is currently at war.
Well, the officials who met the Kenyan officials yesterday from Israel are saying that the government is making every effort to make sure that the workers who are working on the farms are safe. And so far, they are saying that they are pushing the Gaza Strip, the Gaza area. They are pushing away Hamas from the areas where the attack took place. So they are trying to say that there is guarantee in terms of security. So no one should be worried about the security, because in fact, when you look at even Kenya, they are ready to join, because there are some currently who are going for places like Israel, like Syria, Iraq, where it has been so unstable in so many ways in terms of war and fighting. So in this case here in Israel, the Israeli ambassador and other officials who are here, they're saying there's guaranteed security in the air farms where they went to work. So they're saying there's no question about their security, because there's enough security which has been mobilized on the ground to ensure their safety plans.
Is this in any way expected to benefit Kenya's economy?
Yeah, because $1,500 a month, that's a lot of money. It's around, in Kenya, it's around 225,000. It's good money for anyone to go there and work for, because even here in Kenya, the economy is badly battered. most industries are closing down because of the bad economy. So if you, for example, you take away 1,500 people to work in Israel, that's good money to say, because you'll be channeling back that money to Kenya. You need to help to kind of uplift the economy in one way or the other. So you can't underrate it as a bad. It's small money, big money to me.
And finally, how Kenyans are reacting to this? It might be, a divided opinion.
Well, you can't say it's divided. It's divided opinion on the side of the Muslims who are opposed to Israel, but those who are willing to go, they are saying they are ready to go. And as soon as the recruitment starts, they are saying they want to go. But to some Muslims who are opposed to the war in Israel, between Israel and Gaza, they are saying no, they should not join the kind of the workforce they are being called for. So it's the division, of course, among the Christians and the Muslims, but most Kenyans are ready to go. That's how I can tell you. They're ready to go because of they need money to survive.
All right, then we'll see how it all works out. But thank you so much, Cyrus Umbati, Kenyan journalist in Nairobi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Moving on, Cameroon's President Paul Biya has welcomed Gabon's transitional president Brice Oligui Nguema to Yaoundé for a short state visit. The Cameroonian leader is the latest to receive Mr. Nguema, who is on a tour of Central African states, asking for the lifting of economic sanctions on his country before the 2025 elections. Mr. Nguema says he and President Biya discussed this in their closed-door meeting with some officials, and how to also boost economic ties between both nations. Although specific details of the meeting were not disclosed, reports say the Gabonese leader explained his reasons behind the coup and outlined the work of the transition he is leading, even up to the organization of the country's next democratic elections. A United Nations peacekeeping ministerial meeting has ended with a call to improve operations in line with ongoing reform through action for peacekeeping. Delegates from more than 85 countries discussed a number of issues related to peacekeeping operations, notably environmental management and how to advance the women, peace and security agenda. While briefing reporters in New York, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric noted that the Under-Secretary General for Operational Support, Atul Kare, said that indicators for peacekeeping missions, environmental management, have improved in the past 6 years. In 2023, the peacekeeping ministerial meeting was hosted by Ghana in Accra, the capital, and it's the latest in a series of meetings held at the head of state, government or ministerial level since 2014.
Speaking at the first side event, the Undersecretary General for Operational Support, Atul Kare, said that indicators for peacekeeping missions and environmental management have improved over the last 6 years. For example, the proportion of waste treated through recycling, composting, and incineration has jumped from 19% in 6 years ago to 65%. And the peace missions fuel consumption has also gone down by about 15 million liters a year. He said that transitioning to renewable energies helps protect peacekeepers by reducing the need to transport fuel on dangerous roads and increases operational resistance to withstand fuel shortages.
In Sierra Leone, former President Ernest Bai Koroma has been invited for questioning by the police, and it's in relation to the failed coup plot in the country last week. According to a statement by the Ministry of Information and Civic Education, the former president was invited to the headquarters of the Criminal Investigations Department in Freetown to assist authorities in the ongoing probe of the attempted coup. Over 55 people have been arrested since November linked to the incident, the vast majority of them military personnel. In the meantime, Mr. Bai Koroma has appealed for calm and public support for the police investigations and also for due process of the law. A recent workshop in South Sudan's capital, Juba, aims to strengthen capacities among the National Police Steering Committee and focal points in all of the country's 10 states to prevent, respond to, and investigate conflict-related sexual violence. The session was facilitated jointly by the UN mission in South Sudan Women's Protection Advisory Unit and the team of experts on the rule of law and sexual violence in conflict.
I think it is important to say that the collaboration with the police is through the steering committee of the action plan on addressing CRSV by the police, by the SSNPS. The steering committee is a group of senior police officers who have the responsibility of implementing the action plan, and the Women's Protection Advisory Unit does the collaborative support, technical support and assistance to the steering committee to ensure that the action plan, different parts of the action plan are implemented and give the support that is needed to see that CRSV, which is the main part of the action plan, the aim, is stopped in South Sudan.
We are mandated by Security Council Resolution 1888 of 2009 to assist national authorities, including police services, to strengthen their capacities to investigate and prosecute conflict-related sexual violence. And in line with that mandate, we are here today to support the South Sudanese National Police during this workshop. And some of the topics that we are going to cover include understanding conflict-related sexual violence, as well as demystifying some of the myths and misperceptions surrounding conflict-related sexual violence.
In commemoration of his grandfather's death and his pro-Palestinian legacy, grandson to Nelson Mandela, South Africa's leader, hosted a solidarity conference in Johannesburg for Palestinians. Mandela, who is also an ANC lawmaker, spoke about how his grandfather visited Gaza in 1995 as well as in 1997, and also the relationship with then Palestinian President Yasser Arafat. This is in commemoration of 10 years since his grandfather's passing.
It was befitting for my grandfather when he visited Gaza in 1995 as well as in 1997 that he said our freedom is incomplete without the Palestinian struggle. And this for him was to illustrate to the global community that this is the greatest moral issue of our time. Yet the entire international community is silent and mute on the issue. This is not just our hero for our struggle for liberation and our global icon. He's an actual hero to the Palestinians, and they've put their hope as an image of their own struggle for liberation. And they truly believe that the experiences learned out of the South African experience will enable them to realize their freedom in our lifetime.
Well, a former minister in Mandela's cabinet, a politician and former anti-apartheid struggle veteran, Vali Musa, worked closely with Nelson Mandela during his years in office and also helped to spearhead the project to create the country's constitution that is still praised as one of the most progressive in the world. Mr. Musa talked about Nelson Mandela's wish and legacy for South Africa.
Well, his vision for the country is that, one, we should become a united nation, because apartheid was trying to divide us up into Bantustans and this and that. We should be a united country in which we practice the best of respect for human rights and human dignity, and one in which we move in the direction in which there will be prosperity for everybody. He was not afraid to do the right thing. He didn't want to be over-diplomatic about things as such. So I think he said, and you know what? Everybody still loved him for all those things. He showed that you can still be loved for that. Yeah. And of course, famously, he was one of the few world leaders who called Queen Elizabeth by her first name. He said, "Hello, Elizabeth." Nobody calls the Queen by her first name. I think he was just trying to be cheeky.
Still ahead on the program. Marking 16 days of activism, the United Nations mission in South Sudan holds a basketball tournament with local residents. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Egyptians will be going to the general polls next week, December 10 to 12, in a presidential election that analysts say would give President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi a third term in office. In the run-up to the elections, financially strapped people at state-managed cooperatives are trying to buy scarce rations of subsidized sugar, which is the latest sign of economic pressures that have risen sharply since early last year, leaving Egyptians grappling with soaring prices and an unresolved foreign currency crunch and overshadowing pledges to push through delayed reforms.
In terms of ratings, status quo for another year, but not in terms of inflation. I think inflation is going to go up. Right now we're at 35%. We would be hovering at 34% till end of the year. And starting the first quarter, we are headed, back to the 40% range, by the first quarter of 2024 because of the devaluation and its pass-through impacts on the index.
In Ethiopia now, where 5 civilians have been killed in Amhara region after a drone strike hit an ambulance. According to witnesses, 3 other people, including a head of local hospital, were injured in the incident that happened in Wojel Tena town in northeast Amhara. The attack is said to have happened last week, but was only confirmed due to communications restrictions imposed by the local authorities. The federal forces are said to be using drones to target local militia as the violence that broke out in April continues to escalate. Last month, the UN said it was troubled by drone strikes hitting civilian targets in Amhara. Well, back here in Nigeria, the European Union has reaffirmed its commitment to a drastic boost in food security and resilience in Taraba State, especially with the growing impact of insecurity on farming communities across the state. The EU Programme Manager for Food Security Support, Nigeria office, stated this during a tour to assess the efforts and the impact so far to ensure food security in Taraba.
Andute village, located in Adokola local government area of Taraba State. It's an agrarian community and one of the most remote villages in the state, with little or no basic infrastructure like electricity, mobile telecommunication coverage, pipe-borne water, school, and a difficult terrain. The village is one of the 80 communities in 6 local government areas of Taraba State that the European Union has targeted to improve the livelihood of about 40,000 vulnerable households since 2018. Agriculture, which is the mainstay of the village, appears to have been given a facelift.
Before now, I cultivate 3 hectares and get only 5 bags of maize. If I'm lucky and cultivate 5 hectares, I will get 10 bags. But with the coming of the EU and the fertilizers given to us, if I cultivate 3 hectares, I will get up to 50 bags of maize.
The European Union is visiting amidst chairs with its implementing unit, Oxfam, Development Exchange Center, and the representative of Governor Agbu Kefas to see the impact of their 5-year support to build a school, storage facilities, and a bridge to ease movement of food items, and also embarked on Vaseline, detergent, brisket production to make life worthwhile.
The objective of the program has been delivered largely in terms of empowering communities to become more resilient. Not only that, to have income in their personal, homes.
The state government appreciates the EU's gesture towards enhancing the standard of living of the people, with an assurance that the program will be sustained even after the 2024 wind down.
They have also...
I really appreciate EU the way how they are bringing people from rural area to be self-independent in their own activities.
The partnership between the Taraba State government and the European Union on food security, coupled with the improved harmony between farmers and herders, signals a promising outlook for both food self-sufficiency and peaceful coexistence in Taraba State.
In a historic development, delegates at the Global Climate Change Conference COP28 have adopted the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund that is expected to assist developing countries that are particularly vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change. However, the new fund to help poor nations cope with climate disasters is unlikely to aid the victims of Libya's worst flooding in its history. And this is coming from Libyan climate youth activist Nisa Beck, based in Libya's capital, Tripoli. She says she is worried recovery funds would go everywhere except to Derna, the eastern city where a quarter of the coastal town was swept away by a huge flood in September.
I'm really surprised to see that a lot of people are not aware about what happened in Derna, despite the huge media coverage it received a couple of months ago. And a lot of people also are not aware of how what happened in Derna is actually related to climate change, because people say that what happened with the breaches that the breaches in the dam, they have nothing to do with climate. So mainly I am here to educate people on why it is related to climate. We've been told that the loss and damage now more or less has been approved. Yes, it's great. However, it's a very, very small step. Maybe people are not aware about the amount of money that needs to be going to those kind of funds. Some discussing around $70 million going to reconstruct Derna. That's just one small amount, and that's just also one disaster out of many that is happening. We're talking from like a utopian perspective, like, yes, we're going to create the fund, we're going to give the people the money, they're going to fix the problems, everyone's going to be happy. But in reality, most of these third world countries face a lot of corruption, and you have leaders and people in leadership position constantly embezzling money. Everybody knows there's nothing that people can do about it, and it's not discussed in the international community. They feel like, okay, this is something related to states should figure it out on their own. But I'm extremely concerned, because if we are to give, let's say, Libya the money to actually reconstruct Derna, I'm afraid that the money is going to go everywhere except for Derna.
Well, Switzerland's government has handed over a prehistoric Libyan marble sculpture believed to be more than 2,000 years old to Libya's embassy in the Swiss capital, Bern. The sculpture is a young woman's head, measured 19 centimeters high, and dates to the period between the 1st century BC and 1st century AD. The sculpture was found in a customs warehouse in Geneva in 2013 and legally confiscated by Swiss authorities in 2016. Well, authorities say there is sufficient reason to believe that it had been acquired as part of an illegal excavation, but are unable to determine how the sculpture ended up in Switzerland. Well, Libya and Switzerland are both party to a 1970 UNESCO treaty that seeks to prevent the illegal trade of cultural property. Well, finally on the program, sports is one of the unifying factors in South Sudan, and to build community confidence and mark 16 days of activism, the United Nations mission in the country in Yambio has held a week-long basketball tournament with local populations. For Jeffrey Oman, chair of the UN Peacekeeping Mission's Welfare Committee in the Yambio Field Office, such programs help solidify a durable peace as this young nation approaches its first post-independence elections in December 2024.
continue to support everybody in ensuring that the revitalized peace agreement is implemented fully in spirit and in letter, but also that other parts pertaining to the agreement, particularly looking at ensuring civic space and political space is there for people to be able to discuss things in a mature and peaceful and secure environment, making sure that all the support is provided for the country to move forward to a peaceful and inclusive society with full security for all, making sure that the constitution-making process and the elections process are conducted in a proper manner.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.